Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot, and welcome to my new people. This is going to be the moon reading. So we've got a new moon here in Libra, and we're going to see how it impacts the soulmate situation. We also have the beginning of an eclipse cycle. So we've got a lunar eclipse here during this new moon. And so it's going to be kind of a feeling of, we noticed it starting to come in yesterday, feeling of duality kind of playing out. So we're going to look into it, just kind of what the energies are around it, what you need to know, that sort of thing. It'll be a general reading, as always, for people in this collective. So if it feels like it resonates with you, maybe check out some of the other readings. Definitely not going to resonate with everybody. And as I like to say, it shouldn't resonate with everybody. But if it is you, then maybe check out some of the other readings. Maybe hit subscribe, because all the readings are very much connected. So let's see here. Let's start with the overall energy of between the two of you, brought about by this new moon and solar eclipse in Libra. Okay, that's what we're looking at. So it's not just that energetic backdrop, although it will take that into consideration. This is that energy between the two of you, as it relates to this eclipse. So we've got the Death card in reverse, resisting a change, Four of Cups. This is a lot of resistance, actually. This is kind of pushing things away. And we saw this in your person's energy a little bit in particularly in yesterday's extended. So when we looked at what to expect for the weekend, there was that feeling of, if you haven't seen that one, maybe go back and watch it, but it was this feeling of them kind of, you may even have some people coming into contact this weekend, but I don't get the sense that it is that meaningful contact. It's more of a bouncing in, bouncing back out because they weren't ready for it kind of thing. It's a disappointing behavior. There's a little bit of that in there, but there's also just kind of this extreme resistance to the change that wants to come in. So there is, and it's change associated with these lessons, but there's change that wants to come in, really for both of you around the time of this. I mean, so this energy brings, it opens a period of change, but it's like your person has more fear of, or they have more of a fear response, and the thing is, like, they're more aware of that. So this disappointment, they are sharing in this disappointment and their fear response. They wish they weren't that way. They wish they weren't so resistant. This is kind of different. I don't usually get that level of awareness. So it's interesting with this moon, it feels like that awareness, they have these moments of clarity, moments of saliency, where they're able to really kind of see, oh my goodness, I'm not making a whole lot of sense here. Now, I'm not saying they fix everything as a result of that, but it hits them. And, you know, maybe the first couple of times they're able to kind of sweep it under the proverbial rug and not think too much about it. But after it happens a couple of times, they might be like, wait a minute, what am I ignoring here? What is going on? And it's a sense of, this is coming along with their own feelings of emotional self-mastery. So I feel like you've got some of those coming. We saw some of that coming in I think it was yesterday's reading, where we saw emotional self-mastery kind of coming in your direction. This is emotional self-mastery in their direction, but it looks pretty different. What it could amount to is for them to recognize this fear, be disappointed by it, recognize this resistance, and do something useful with it. This, I feel like, takes a lot of the ability to slow down the situation and make sense of it. But I also feel like that energy is here, and so is the energy of starting something new. So they're a little bit, again, though, we've seen with the feeling of duality, they can be very much drawn to do something positive in your direction, while at the same time feeling such a strong urge to run away. So this Page of Swords that's ready to try something new could flip and get afraid to try something new pretty much at any moment. And they're aware of this. Don't exactly like what they see. That was the Judgment card in reverse. It's kind of just an honorable mention, but it went right with what I was saying. Let's see here. We have the Eight of Wands that came in here in the reverse. This is that feeling of stagnancy, or that feeling of wanting to say something, but like you're having a conversation with multiple people and you're waiting for that moment to show up when it would be the right rhythm for you to interject your idea, but that rhythm keeps not allowing for it. It's got that kind of feeling. So it's a hold up, but it's because the timing isn't yet right. So something isn't happening because the timing isn't yet right, and I feel like that's something that both of you are feeling. Interesting. Why would you both be feeling it? I guess that's something that you're both feeling it, but you don't necessarily know what it is that you're both feeling. So I get the feeling like they are trying to work out a communication, but they don't feel like for some reason they can make that communication. Um, there's a circular feeling to it. But there's also, oh, we saw this yesterday too, I'm pretty sure. There's this feeling of not wanting to go to, not wanting to go too deeply as far as digging into solutions. So they don't necessarily want to look too closely at what their options are in this energy. They are wanting to use excuses to make their lives simpler. That's the Two of Wands. Sometimes it has to do with an impasse between the two of you, and I'm feeling less of that, but I am feeling that excusey sort of energy that sort of sometimes comes with it, because sometimes they'll use that impasse as an excuse to keep their mind away from you, but in this case they're just being excuse filled. In the this is the Nine of Wands, and so there's again that realization. I see a lot of in this energy being aware of when you don't respond well to something. So this applies to you too. If you were to have a response to something that you would deem inappropriate, or you may not have a very easy time ignoring it. You might have to go back to somebody and say, I'm sorry, I responded this way. Just can't stop thinking about it. Just had to apologize. That may wipe wipe your conscience pretty clean though at that point, once they understand what it is that you intended, or especially what you did not intend, in ways that you were concerned that it may have come across. I also think though you're going to run into people that never took as much offense as you were worried they did. So we have the King of Cups here. This one is interesting because it's doing everything right. There's charisma, there's integrity, but it has a limit. And once you hit that limit, all of a sudden it's like a trapdoor squeezes shut and there's no more capacity. And this is your person drowning in, or flooding in emotion, and suddenly finding themselves incapable of functioning. And I feel like that happens here within this energy, although I think in some cases we've already been seeing it happen, where it's a matter of we've seen the retraction of their emotional energy, but not their spiritual energy. We were just talking about it again. I think that might have been yesterday. So a lot of connection to yesterday's reading, though, as far as it's reminding me and throwing me back to images from whatever reading that was. And feels like it was yesterday. Some of it might have been before yesterday, but they are all very much connected. The feeling, though, of something really changing, and changing permanently. This is emotionally tumultuous, but never can go back. There's that sense of a missed opportunity, and it's like it's not a permanently missed opportunity, but it becomes frustrating just how much, with the Sun in reverse, happiness has been missed, how much time has been lost. Or is being lost. Somewhere in there, somebody starts to make this realization. Could be both of you. I would just say that it's not necessarily time where it would have been filled with movement in the same direction. Right now, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place almost completely separately. But it's because of how much you mean to one another. And it's significant because if you didn't mean that much to one another, you would never stay engaged in this process. There's just not enough, it hurts too much to remain on the trail of these lessons if you don't have somebody like this to keep you engaged. Um, so that's the emotions between you, or that's the energy between the two of you, given kind of the situation, the emotional and energetic backdrop from this new moon and this eclipse. So it's a pretty no nonsense kind of energy. Definitely does not fool around. However, I don't get the sense it's all bad. I just feel like it's fairly unforgiving. Like it's just, it's moving really fast and it doesn't slow down to allow for anybody to catch up, but it doesn't necessarily have poor intentions. Let's see what else you can expect from a soulmate perspective in this energy. This is, there's a lot of intensity in the energy, but again, it's not necessarily super negative. Things become much clearer. There's a feeling of something becoming much clearer in this energy. I really do feel like what I was seeing yesterday, where the two of you become more, feeling more like home to one another, because even though you may not be having much of a conversation in the physical realm, you are spending more time together spiritually, and it's starting to make you feel even more comfortable with one another. You have both of you are kind of exposing for your respective selves, not to each other necessarily, but you're starting to come to terms with some things that, like the other ones, so the two of you cause a response out of each other that is unlike any other person has ever impacted you or them. Okay. It's not something they can forget, but it also is something that creates a lot of pain when they think through it. It's an outrageous amount of pain, like the way that you may feel like they took your heart from you and then right in front of you dropped it on the floor and like stepped on it. I get the sense that they have some pretty intense experiences on their side as well, but it may not be obvious what those are. What I see here is the two of you sort of reliving what brought you into each other's view, like what made you really stick out to one another so much. I highly recommend you reach into your meditation for some solutions here, because otherwise I think they're going to be difficult to interpret. There is, in fact, if you are getting emotional pictures, mental pictures from this reading, you close your eyes and you listen to the reading, and if you're getting mental pictures, take those into a meditation. Be like, what does this mean? How can I use this to get where I need to go? You may be surprised. You may need to write some of it down, but you may be surprised at where some of it takes you. You are in a unique, you have like a uniquely good way of being able to do that right now, though. The veil between you and your higher power, your higher self, is pretty thin right now. So you're encouraged to take advantage of that where possible in every way. Once again, this is that veil being thin. We see it as a repeated message here. It's information coming to you, but it's also information being able to come to you. Some of it you may not feel like you're completely ready for. Once again, a theme that we've seen in these readings quite a bit. You're probably ready for more than you realize. Sometimes you've learned a lesson, but you've not yet had a chance to apply it. You don't realize it until you get into the situation. So you've got the Seven of Wands, and this is kind of it. This is assuming you can. This is assuming you're going to be successful as you move forward in something. And it's kind of it's a relief. It's a nice feeling to say, listen, I am open to communication. I am open to not just communication, but open to learning lessons, because that seems like an easy thing to be until you actually start learning lessons. And then you find out that being open to lessons is sometimes very challenging, but it's still the right way to think about things. There's a very gung-ho sort of feeling between the Seven of Wands and the Page of Coins. I'm confident and I'm ready, and it's kind of like, okay, well, be careful what you wish for, because some of this that you're looking to work through and circumvent is probably going to throw you for a loop. Now, again, I think most of the pain is behind you, and both of you have the power to get it done. You have the manifestation power to do what you need to do this week. This time frame. That's part of what is happening with this eclipse cycle. It's a time of change, but you will be acutely aware of your shortcomings. You'll be aware when you didn't do something the way that you wish you had done it. There are lots and lots of opportunities, though, to figure out what is your responsibility and let go of the things that aren't. So again, this is every time you're presented with something that you're being asked to take care of, look at it, determine how much of your responsibility it is. Sometimes it's going to be a lot of your responsibility. Sometimes it's not so much. Sometimes it has to do with how much you control it, how much you influence it, what role you're going to play, and how much weight you're going to carry about it. You stand to drop a lot of weight that you're carrying, both of you, because of assumptions that you kind of have to carry it, even though it's not something that you truly can control anyway. So you've got the Queen of Swords here talking about not making any rash decisions, but it's not so much advice as just a comment that you may be less inclined to make rash decisions, but you're not necessarily less inclined to move forward confidently. I definitely get the sense that you might still be ready to move quickly, but there's a difference between quick and rash. Rash implies that there's not been enough thinking about it or not enough consideration. You have the High Priestess here, and this is just the thing. We were talking about rash and fast being two different things, where rash is implied that there's not been as much consideration. Fast, there may have been consideration. With the High Priestess here, though, there's a sense of people not necessarily knowing your rationale and assuming things where maybe they're not completely accurate. So just be aware of that. Again, I don't know that I catch a bunch of deceptive or negative energy in that, just people not quite understanding what they're looking at and kind of like, well, hey, how come this person doesn't have to work so hard, or whatever it is, however that comes out. So we have this Ten of Swords again. I feel like this is you actually kind of... and I don't know that I feel your person's energy is heavily in this, but I wouldn't rule it out. This is you working through something that created a problem in you earlier on. Like, it created a problem in you. It's a cycle you've been through a few times, and you get to a point, and this is that point where you're saying, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. I now recognize this as something that I no longer want to do. It's a habit that you no longer want to have. There is a need to invest in yourself. There's a need to invest in the energy around you. And I think you're going to feel completely ready to do that. And what that means, it's getting involved in situations that occur around you, whether it's decisions that are made or taking on a little bit more of the involvement. And it might be a bit of a surprise to you to want to do that. But all of a sudden, when opportunities come up for you to take a leadership position where in the past you might have waited for somebody else to do that, I can see you potentially jumping in for some things that usually might look a little different from what you usually do. Let's see, that's not part of the reading. I don't think it is. I guess, I never know. When I get one of the ones that I don't think is part of the reading, I go ahead and I put it back in, but sometimes it just pops back out because it was part of it. I even know what the message is when that happens. Okay, so Four of Swords. There is almost a need for, it's almost a forced relaxation. There's a need for relaxation that ends up being almost forced. You get to a place where your hands are tied. You can't make a communication, like maybe you shouldn't be, but you were going to, but for some reason the communication doesn't go through. And it ends up being a good thing. The timing happens such that there's a win here. There's something positive that happens as a result of something that seems like it's going to be very negative. Seems like not communicating would create a problem, but in fact, having had that communication blocked is part of what helps you be successful in a situation. So if you get something kind of weird like that, maybe look for fallout. Look for fallout that could actually be somewhat positive. We've got the Six of Cups and the Seven of Swords. Maybe there is a little bit going on around you that you just kind of want to be careful about. Because I remember when I was saying earlier, whatever this situation is where this person kind of misinterprets how much work you have to do or whatever it is or whatever the load is that you're carrying, it doesn't come from a bad place. And I don't think it does. I think that there's some kind of game of telephone that occurs that ultimately results in somebody misunderstanding, though. This is a time of incredible nostalgia between you and your person. There's a lot of memory of how things have played out, how things have felt. You may be, we already know you might be hearing from this person in this energy and that they would be the unhealed version of them. So you kind of hope that if they do, that they don't create too much damage, and I know in some cases, especially based on yesterday's reading, there will be some impact and there will be, you'll find yourself afterwards having to kind of sort through a couple of things. Let's look at what you can be doing, especially in light of the rest of the energy that we see on this table. Your person and you are very aligned energetically, but not necessarily super aligned on a physical realm perspective. And so we got one turned over there. Eight of Rods, quietude. Okay, we also have the Knight of Rods. There it is. Eight of Rods, Knight of Rods, and it's quietude. It is, everything is quiet, but be careful for like the reasons that it's quiet. Be aware that it may be because the situation isn't safe or because there is a necessary pause in it. Focus on your household and your immediate environment. Make sure that you have enough nuts stored away for the winter. You are going to be more ready to walk toward the things that you want than you might realize. So be prepared to jump sooner than you think you might need to jump on something. What you're looking for is likely to come to you in a way that is different from what you might expect. Super interesting story behind some of these cards, but one of the Nine of Cups in this particular deck, one of the messages behind the Nine of Cups is about receiving what you wish for, but not having it be what you expect. The King of Wands. Okay, so the King of Wands in reverse is about learning how to accommodate this person's energy that likes to come and go. They're not actively necessarily trying to hurt you, but in some cases they're aware of that's what happens, and they're doing it anyway. There is a feeling here of, I guess it's a matter of like not being able to force yourself to stop doing something. It might even be a pattern of thinking that you've tried over and over and you're having a hard time. The message here is easy does it. There's something, the answer to your issue with whatever it is that you're trying not to do is to take it easier. There's some sort of easier, less controlling sort of path. Okay, so we have the Devil card in the upright, and the Devil card here is kind of telling us there is something that it's right along the lines of this thing that you are unable to stop doing. Like, take it easy because there is something here that it is connected to that you have to resolve in order to be able to stop doing it. And so it's a matter of backing off the pressure on yourself a little bit so that you can figure out what the connection is, and then solve that issue. Six of Wands here, lots of emotional and energetic level or energetic energy continuing to come your way. So if the Six of Wands in the upright is victory after a long battle, the Six of Wands in the reverse in this context is the battle continues. It's not over yet. We are not to the point in the timeline yet where we are after the battle. Let's see here. We have the Nine of Coins. Nine of Coins has come out decidedly sideways. Going to go ahead and leave it there like that. And this is a matter of, this almost feels like training for you. Yes, it's the same feeling as this Temperance. It almost feels like training for you, different situations where you get to try and navigate and decide how you want to handle it, how, like it's opportunities for you to stay in balance, but it's not extensive. Like they're not super high danger, high stakes kind of opportunities. It's okay. So use everything as an opportunity. Let me try and figure out how to rephrase this as I pick this other one up. Okay. Use everything as an opportunity to find lessons within yourself. So we know that you're able to use this situation with your person to find things within yourself that need to be strengthened or need to be resolved, and then you can work on those things. And then when it no longer triggers you, you realize, okay, I've made some resolution. I've done some good things. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be this person that triggers that in you. You can do that with any interaction and any situation. And here you're being encouraged to start making those small tweaks, which is why we would say a lot of the pain is behind you, because now you've figured out how to leverage what you're learning in these interpersonal situations and kind of make it into a, oh, here's the lesson for me. And why do I need to learn this? And get into it, and be able to figure it out. This is part of the solution for you. This is something really positive, but it's not necessarily something really easy. You are moving toward a balance though. And so it feels like it's like you've earned this information. You've earned the start making nuance changes information, or advice by having made the progress that you've made so far already. We're going to get you a moon card. So there's a lot of heavy messages that came out here. I don't know like what to expect or what to attribute all this to. I know it's so much energy that it's almost got me a little bit dizzy. So that happens sometimes, but especially when we've got eclipses involved, all of a sudden it will get super intense for me. So this one is no exception. But let's see what comes out here for you. Yep, it does. So it's a full moon in Sagittarius, and it's imploring you to take a look at the bigger picture. Okay, so that is almost always part of the subtext of the readings that I'm giving. Anyway, there's usually, quite often we'll see that King of Swords, and it showed up, but then it didn't want to be in the reading. But it's that sense of that. Take a step back, look at the big picture, and then use that to build your strategy. So in this case here, that's kind of the message that comes with the look at the bigger picture card. And so as you look at kind of what's happening with you here with these smaller changes that you're looking to make, with focusing on what's happening in your kind of near term and knowing that things may come in looking a little different from maybe what you think they will. Also some recognition of the trouble that you may be having putting an end to a behavior. Back up and allow this not to be so much noise for you. Allow yourself to have a little bit more overall perspective, because there's kind of a lot going on in this space, and so it gets a little bit noisy if you're not able to back up and say, okay, what are the super important things? Like if we break it down into 3 or 4 really important things, what do I need to know right now? because it's kind of intense energy. I think I'm not going to extend this reading, but I do feel like we'll probably have to revisit it as we go across the weekend. Let me know what you guys are interested in or what you guys are having happen with you. There's so much energy across this weekend. It just makes one's head buzz. So let me know what's happening with you, and from that, I will decide which question to do next for tomorrow's reading. So looking forward to seeing you there, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day or evening.